Hi, folks. Since we're all inside, I want to share with you something that I thought was pretty profound. A lady got a hold of us and wanted to share her thoughts and ask a question. And so the best way for me to do it is to read it to you. You're not going anywhere anyway, so just hang in there a minute. She said, before I say this, I want to be clear that I'm not one of those people who thinks bits are cruel. I have Pat Snaffle and I'm very glad to have found it. My issue is with spade bits. It seems like the only way for a horse to be comfortable in a spade bit is if he carries his head at an angle that allows the spoon to lay flat against the tongue. I do understand that a comfortable angle for a warm blood is different from a comfortable angle for a quarter horse. But seems like comfortable is a relative term. Yes, the horse can set his head in a certain way to avoid discomfort, but it's not comfortable for a horse or a person to maintain specific position for a long time. We all need to be able to move around continually and keep from getting stiff or sore. So that's my concern. That it has to be very hard on a horse to maintain a headset that keeps the bit from being uncomfortable. I used to think that the intense collection and vertical headset of dressage riding was tough on horses, and it's clearly hard work. But dressage horses don't have to maintain that frame for hours at a time because they get frequent breaks on a loose rein, and the curb bit has a low port so they can relax with the bit in their mouths. Bridle horses get no relief unless the bridle is literally removed from the horse's head. Would be interested in Pat's thoughts on this. Okay. So the point she's making is she's comparing with a dressage horse, and she's trying to understand. She gave me her opinion on what a spade bit does to a horse. Well, I'm going to skip ahead to, Deb gave her an answer that was about as long, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to share with you a demonstration on a bit. But before I do that, to be fair to her, the lady that got a hold of us, you need to hear what she had to say after Deb sent her an answer. She said, Pat and Deb, wow, it helps a lot. I know I'm not getting it 100%, but one of these days I will. One of the things you mentioned that I did not realize is that head stalls fitted with a spade bit have curb straps. So there you go. She actually didn't know that we use a curb strap. Being signal bits as opposed to leverage bits, I thought perhaps they didn't have curb straps at all. I would love to see a video on this. I'm thinking that maybe you being stuck in a stray is one reason why you had time to write that wonderful long response. I really appreciate it. Stay safe. Okay. So it's a given that she didn't know about a curb strap. Okay, what I want to show today is the reason we have a curb strap in there so that a bit doesn't turn over in a horse's mouth. And it's also part of the signal. So what I want to do is this, my friends, with all my amazing artistic ability, this is a horse's head. And this is the horse's mouth where the bit would sit. So if you take a curved bit, just a regular bit, and you put that in a horse's mouth. Now that horse, the reason a curved bit is what it is because it's a nothing bit as far as I'm concerned. In other words, it doesn't have any impact either way. The only impact it has is when you pull on the curb strap, it connects to the horse. So when you move this horse's skull forward and back, there's very little action in the bit. In fact, with the tongue involved, there would be no action. It's just simply in the horse's mouth. Okay? So now you take a Santa Susana cheek with a, some folks will call it a half-breed, some folks will call it a high port. So I'm not here to do names. All I'm doing is showing bits. So now you take, I'm going to call it a half-breed. And remember, a horse is like this when he's traveling out in the country. When he bridles up, he looks like this. If he looks like that, he's behind the bit. So that's the scenario I'm going with. So now you put this bit in a horse's mouth, and he's going out across country. That's what it looks like. The back of the mouthpiece is not touching the tongue. As you pick up on the reins and pull the horse's head in, now the mouthpiece is touching the tongue. Outside circle, collection. That's how it works. And that's why I've always said that you can take a leverage bit and turn it into a signal. When I pick up the reins, if you'll watch this part of the bit, you'll see it lay onto the tongue. As the horse goes away to make a circle and trotting outside, it leaves the tongue. As you put it into collection, the top of the mouthpiece does touch the tongue. Now remember, this is all controlled with a curb strap. And you have to have the correct tightness. And across the board, I've always said that it's 1 finger's width between the jawbone and the curb strap. Because I'll show you in a minute, if you have a really long curb strap, you get in a lot of trouble. So right there, when the horse is trotting outside, the curb strap stops the mouthpiece from moving anymore. So now the horse can go where it wants to go. Then when it bridles up, it goes back into position. So now the curb strap is loose and the mouthpiece is touching the tongue. So now I pick up on the reins and it leaves the tongue and tightens the curb strap just enough. And I find that spot there where it's just hanging. And that's how you balance a horse. Okay. Now I'll get a spade. And this is the part that was confusing for the lady that sent the message, which I really do appreciate her doing that, because a lot of people, there's a lot of thought here. And like my friend in Idaho, Matt, he'll look at this and he could go to his shop and come back with a sculptured skull and have all the math and the angles and the whole thing figured out. I put 2 nails in the board, so this is just to give an idea. So now we have the spade bit. Here is a horse in collection. The spoon is on the tongue. As I hold the reins, if you watch that spoon, it will go back and forth to the tongue. Now I'm done working a cow and I give the horse the reins to go make a circle, and his head goes out and the spoon leaves the tongue completely until the curb strap is tight, which is about right there. It's never more than 30 degrees. And this is what I would like to explain to the lady that sent us the note, that a spade bit horse spends more time like this than it does in the bridle, because we only bridle them up when we want to stop, back up, or turn around. So now I want to bridle this horse up, and I pick up on my reins, which incidentally, when I pick up on my reins, I put my skeleton in a position to share with the horse through my seat, because I've mentioned before, you ride your horse from just above your belt line. That's how you actually ride a bridle horse. So sitting up on your saddle and lifting the reins all happens at the same time. So when that happens, now this horse bridles up and the spoon is back on the tongue waiting for anything. And there's anything. That's how much play there is. That's why this is a signal. It's very subtle. So when you're playing with this and you've got that curb strap going on, this is what's happening in a horse's mouth. Now he goes outside and it goes to about there, and that's how come he can travel comfortably with the bit in his mouth. If it's a loose curb strap, it is in fact going to rest on the palate. Well, I don't want it that loose. And we can talk about the palate story for 3 weeks if you want, but I'm just telling you what I'm concerned about is having the curb strap very correctly placed so that this horse is comfortable there and bridles up there. Bam, bam. So when you see somebody pick a bit up at a bit show and they hold it and it does that, that's when you know it's a balanced bit. This does not mean a balanced bit. This means a balanced bit, because that is where the horse is going to carry it when they're outside trotting. That's the balance part. Now I pick up on the reins and the horse bridles up. So now the balance follows back. So I've made it clear as mud, or I've explained it. And hopefully this makes sense to you and helps out a lot of people to understand the concept of a bit. But I know for myself, the spade bit is the highest level of riding that there is, as far as I'm concerned. And it's the highest complement to balance a horse. So I would never compare dressage and spade bit horses, because it's like basketball and baseball. They both use a ball. All I'm telling you is that this is what I strive for, and this is my passion. And this is not inhumane, it's not cruel, it's not anything. It's a perfectly balanced bit. There's a lot of thought went into this. And just for the sake of conversation, the reason this is back here, that's the counterbalance. It's perfectly placed from the center of the mouth to here, so that when you let go of the reins, it goes back to zero. That's why the Santa Barbara, for me, in the quarter horse world especially, is such a popular bit, because of the counterbalance. It's an amazing design. So rather than keep babbling, that's all I got for now. But Pete and Jen in Australia, this is something I really wanted you to see. And take care, folks. So keep them cards and letters coming. Adios.